Hey kids, I'm going to actually be on top of the news cycle for once. So, the big news of the day is James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think also Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, is no longer going to be the director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because a popular sort of group of people online, sort of spearheaded by Mike Cernovich and others, found quite a lot of old tweets and blog posts and videos and other comments from this guy, basically being kind of a pedo. It's pretty gross. He deleted a bunch of it, but the internet is forever and all of that, and it kind of makes you wonder where Disney was on its own due diligence before they hired this person. But this topic is being covered plenty by lots of other people in terms of the facts of what happened and the hypocrisy on the left and the people now saying he shouldn't be fired, same people who thought Roseanne should be fired. Notably, many of that is people who are allegedly on the right, which tells you something. If a person consistently takes the same side as the left, you might want to conclude that they're on the left, like Ben Shapiro would fall in this category. However, something came to my attention in the course of all this that I just wanted to rant about briefly, since I'm kind of talking about parenting stuff on here. So a lot of people are saying that Gunn was directing children's movies for Disney, and it seems like what they mean is Guardians of the Galaxy. And that is pretty weird. Yeah, pretty weird. As you can tell from my Alt Hero shirt here, I am a bit of a comics fan, and not so much a fan of the direction that comics have taken now that they've been invaded by the SJWs and converged. Marvel Disney movies being no exception. Of course, they brought in Joss Whedon to head their universe, and he immediately took a hard left turn and started tearing apart characters like Iron Man and eroding the values that make that character awesome. So I'm pretty over Marvel, including the Marvel movies, but I have seen both Guardians of the Galaxy and, more importantly, saw the marketing for especially the first one. Out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's not the kids' movie. Kind of the opposite. It's kind of, the only one less of a kids' movie is Deadpool. And they, illustrated that pretty clearly in the preview for the first Guardians of the Galaxy that involved, God, what's his name? Star-Lord, flipping the bird to the people who, had arrested him. Ragtag crew, criminals and all that. A character is named frickin' Gamora and has a horrific backstory. Just because there's a raccoon that isn't a raccoon doesn't mean that it's a kid's movie. Just because your kid ends up liking it because there's a cute character or they think somehow this thing is funny, kids latch on to all kinds of things that are not appropriate for them, and it's the parent's job to control what the kid is exposed to. So what this tells me is that people in general aren't doing that. I mean, this is no surprise. I'm not saying I'm pointing out anything revolutionary here, but people keep expecting to be able to let media raise their children for them. And that's true even for the hardline sort of conservatives who, advocate for Disney returning to purity or, whatever, and making films like Snow White or whatever. It doesn't matter what the film is. It doesn't matter how pure it is. It doesn't matter any of that. You can't let media in any form, books, movies, anything, songs, music, you can't let that raise your children, because you can't write a story that's perfect enough that you can be certain that it's replacing the kind of education that a parent gives a child. The child's brain is developing, right? So even if you write a story that has perfectly articulated values that are in line with what you believe, like, you can't even just, like, so let's say you're Christian, you can't just give the Bible to a kid and be like, all right, so, like, read this a bunch and then, you'll be fine. Like, no, you have to read it with them, help them interpret it, help them understand it, help them analyze different facets of it, and start to build their comprehension and their thinking ability and all of that. This exact same thing is true for movies. And I get extremely frustrated when I see parents on all ends of the political spectrum, complaining that this or that movie had this lesson, or my kid watched this movie and then he came away saying, this bad language, or, making these kinds of jokes that make me uncomfortable, or this or that and the other thing. And it's like, well, did you watch the movie before you let your kid see it? Probably not. Most parents don't go through that trouble. Did you at least watch it with your kid and talk to them about it afterward and ask the kid questions and see how they interpreted it? Sometimes, but probably not for most people. So, you're the one reneging on your job. And if you're going to outsource your parenting to someone else and then what, you have the gall to complain that you don't like the way that they're doing it? I mean, it's not a secret who these people are in Hollywood, right? And the kinds of things that they're into. Especially these days, like, why would you trust your children with that? And again, like I said, with Guardians of the Galaxy, I have this appreciation of the fact that Disney puts itself in a weird position, and I don't think that they have done the right thing as a brand. So, Disney expanded into these adult movies, and they haven't dealt wisely with kind of drawing boundaries around their two spheres, right? They have the child sphere and they have the adult sphere. And it's more of a, mushy Venn diagram because, well, really all they care about is money. So if the kids are excited to watch, the grossly inappropriate Guardians of the Galaxy or even Deadpool or whatever, they're not going to stop the kids from going, right? I mean, that's why these movies they make sure they're PG-13, not R, except for Deadpool. So yeah, Disney's not complaining. If a bunch of kids are going to see a movie that's not appropriate for children, it's not meant for children, they're getting their pockets lined, they don't care. And that's on Disney, to some extent, but it's also on the parents, and, probably primarily on the parents. So anyway, I just wanted to address that point. I don't believe that Gunn was hired by Disney in order to make children's movies. I still don't think Disney should have hired him. Again, they have this branding issue that they need to address, and well, frankly, I don't think anyone should hire this person. I don't care. I don't care if you're, hiring this guy to make the most adult films on earth, like NC-17 or something like that. If you're a decent person, you should have absolutely nothing to do with someone who talks like this. They're not, I mean, first of all, they're not jokes, but second of all, even if they are jokes, it's too much. You can't, 10,000 tweets that the guy deleted, like, come on, man. You gotta take this stuff seriously. A culture that doesn't take the protection of children seriously is a culture that doesn't last very long. So in any event, don't outsource the raising of your children to these movies. Don't think that somewhere out there is a movie pure enough and perfect enough that your kid can safely watch it with no, guidance from you, no input from you. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as that. The idea is you guide them, you give them a lot of guidance through their early years, which last a long time. Humans take a long time to develop cognitively, and then hopefully by the time they're, leaving the nest or close to leaving the nest, they're able to process this stuff, on their own, both with an independent mind and with a mind that was, well nurtured by you. So don't renege on that responsibility, and don't, get mad when, Disney does a bad job raising your kids, because frankly, that's not their job, it's yours. So there you go. Yeah, the makeup is back. Mostly because I had to go take a picture today. So that's kind of why I look like an evil vampire or something like that. So don't get too used to the look. I think I'll be back to the haggard mom look pretty soon. Yeah, that's about it. Bye.